Hey everyone, welcome to another video in Complete Agentic AI course. In this particular video, we'll see how do you invoke LLMs using LangGraph. So basically, we'll see the integration between LangGraph and LangChain to invoke different LLM models. And we'll also see the most interesting part of agentic framework, that is the tool integration. So let's get started. So in the previous video, you have seen that we were using LangChain to directly call our LLM models. But in this video, let's see how do you integrate LangChain and LangGraph together. So first thing first, you first define your LLM model. So this is one of the LLM models that is being served in Databricks. And for everyone to use the same code. So I'm inside the introduction LangGraph intro folder, and I'm using the 1.2 call chat models using LangGraph notebook. So if you want to follow with me, just use this notebook and you can run all these commands in your environment, right? And if you haven't seen the setup video, look for the setup video first. So I'm defining a function. I'm calling this as a call LLM function, and it takes a parameter state, which is a message state. What is this message state? If you remember, in LangGraph we were having the state for the graph, right? So message state is a special type of state that is a built-in helper class that represents the state of messages flowing through a LangGraph state graph. So this is especially useful when you're building conversational or agentic workflows where messages like chat history are passed between nodes. So basically, whenever we are building a chat conversation system, we need to keep track of all the messages that happen between. It could be human messages, it could be AI messages and all that, right? So this is a inbuilt state that you can use whenever you're building something like chat models, right? Will be so for now, this is where the system prompt coming into picture. Basically, I'm creating a prompt call as the role is system and the content is reply only with plain text, no formatting, right? So this is like a system prompt I'm adding to, like, suppose you are chatting with chat gpt, right? So you basically ask, can you give me this in this format, or do not include this type of things. So those things are called as system prompt. So this is one way to define the system prompt. Once that's done, I'm just adding the system messages with whatever the messages that you'll be sending, right? Suppose you're sending hi, so it will add system messages first, and this will prepend with your state messages. Then I'm returning the messages, so the returning message as a key. Then I'm invoking your LLM models with the message that we have just built, right? And this will be added as a message state. And every time you call this method, all these messages will be appended in the message key, right? This is where this messages state comes into picture. So it does it automatically. So every time you invoke this model, it will not override the messages, but it will append all those messages in the history. Once that's done, it is similar to what we have already seen. We define a state graph, and the state is message state, and you add a node that is called LLM, and call LLM as a function. Once that's done, you define the edges. It start with start, call LLM node, then call LLM to end, because this is a simple graph which just calls LLM model. You can invoke your graph using the human messages. I'm just passing as a tell me about Databricks. This is how you'll be invoking. And if you want to see the messages, so currently, because if you remember, we have talked about like there are different types of messages, right? So I'm just taking all the type as text, and these are all the AI messages. So this is just a way of filtering those messages, and at the end I'm printing those AI messages. So you see that you got all the messages. So it talks about database, a cloud-based data analytics and AI platform. So this was a very simple example to show you like how do you create a graph in a graph, and in one note you how to call your LLMs. And also we have seen like how to define a system prompts. So this will become handy when I talk more about agents and tools. You will see that system prompts are very important for your chat models or your agents to work properly. So once this is done, let's move to 1.3 notebook. This is where I'll be talking about like how do we call different tools using LangGraph. So let's understand why do we need different tool, right? So if you have remember our introduction to agents video, we have talked about that we do not want just a system which can help us to answer questions, right? We need some system where it answers your question, but it can also take action. But as a, like, suppose think about ChatGPT, right? So if we ask ChatGPT, can you send a mail from my email ID to someone else, right? ChatGPT won't be able to do it because it doesn't have any API, it doesn't have any tools, or it doesn't have any methods to do it. This is similar to, this is what tools help you. So basically tools are, you can think about simplification of tools, like these are the API, or these are the methods that you're giving to your agent so that it can take some action from you. So suppose you want to send an email through your agentic system. So basically you integrate your agents with your Gmail or any other email services that you have, and you integrate this as a tool. That's basically the use of a tool in agentic system. Let's start with a very simple tool integration to understand how do you integrate it. Okay, so for this example, I'm importing MLflow and I'm using MLflow LangChain integration to log something, right? This will be very interesting. This is just your teaser for MLflow. We have a totally different section while we integrate MLflow with our agentic system, but this is to just to show you like how do you trace in MLflow. First thing first define the state. So if you remember, we talked about message state. Whenever you're building some chat like agent, you use this pre-built state, right? And you do not define any other parameter inside it. Now let's define a simple tool. Like this could be a multiply function, right, which takes like two parameter and it returns the multiplication of it. But if you see on the comment, we added a lot of metadata inside this. So we are adding as like multiple two numbers, what is the example of it, what is the argument that it takes, and what it returns, right? This is very important for any tools that we create, right? Because your agent system can understand from this metadata, and it understand like why it needs to use this particular code tool, right? So whenever your agent sees this tool integration, it understand, okay, whenever I want to multiply some numbers, I can use this particular tool or particular function, right? So the metadata that you give in your function as a comment, this is very important. Once that's done, we define the chat databricks model as usual. Then we bind the tools, right? This is how you bind the tools. So on your LLM model, you use bind tools and you define all your tools as an array, right? So currently I'm using only one function or a tool, so I'm just defining only one tool here. Once that's done, basically it's the same way that you have seen. You're creating a different function, you define your messages, and you use that particular which is binded with the tool, and you invoke with the state of messages, like whatever message you're sending, you're invoking and you're storing that as a messages. You're appending all the result. This is the usual stuff. You build your graph, you add your node. So currently there is only one node, that is tool calling LLM. Then you add your age. So the age start with start, then you use the tool calling LLM, right? And there is one more age that is goes from tool calling LLM to end. Then you compile your graph, then you invoke your messages, right? What is the weather in Tokyo and what is 2 multiplied by 3, right? If you see that we have asked two different question, what is Tokyo and what is 2 multiplied by 3. Let's see like how does agent do this. Then I'm just printing all the messages that you get. So I'm printing it like message number, what is the message type, and what's the message content. So if you execute this, this is how you'll get the message. So you get the message as human message. It's asking, hello, what is the weather in Tokyo and what is 2 multiplied by 3. In message 2, you do not get any message. I'll tell you like why you're not getting a message. But if you scroll down, you will see this is how the tracing looks like in MLflow. And this is something that you're getting by default. So only thing that you need to do is like just use this tool statement and it will do the rest. Let's see what does this tracing look like. So if you click on chat databricks, the last this one, you will see that first it defines what are the tools that you're using, right? So it knows, okay, that you are using a multiplied tools, and what does it do? It multiplied two numbers. Then you will see a message call as hello, what is the weather in Tokyo and what is 2 multiplied by 3. And if you remember, we talked about whenever you are asking any question to your LLM or your agent, it will first divide the goals and it will try to do the goals part by part, right? So currently there are two goals. One is you find the weather of Tokyo and multiply this two number. So the agent understood that I have a multiply tool that I can use. So it called the multiply tool and it passing two parameter, that is a and b is 2 multiplied by 3. But you do not get any other response from this. That's because you need to add a different type of node wherever you're calling it tools, right? This is how you're going to add that. So everything remains the same, but in place of like previously we just had like one node, right? Like tool calling LLM, but we need to add one more node here. First, you add the tool calling LLM, but with that you also added tools node that is coming from tool node. So you basically import this from LangGraph pre-built and you import two things. One is tool node, one is tools condition. So basically create it as a tool node, and whatever nodes, whatever tools that you create, you have to pass all the tools here, right? So this will be added as a tool. Now the edges will look something differently. First is start to tool calling LLM. Then you have a conditional edges. Why conditional edges required? Because you need to check if this requires any tools calling, then only call this particular tools call, right? So that's where you are adding a edge from tool calling LLM to tools condition. So this is a pre-built way of defining the tool condition. That means that if there are any tool condition, then call the tools, right? And then you create a edge that from tools. So whatever the tools that you have added, right, from tools you call all the tool calling LLM. So this is required because suppose think that you have like two nodes here, right? Tools calling LLM and tools. So suppose your agents were not able to do the multiplication, right? It will try to do retry. So this is like a going back to your tools. It's like a I'll talk about React agent. So that means that if it's not able to do it in the first time, it will try to see like if there are any tools present, and it will try do some retries and see if it is able to do the task or not, right? So that's what we did. Then we compile the graph. This is similar, and this is like invoking and do the messaging, right? Let's see how the output looks like. So you first see a human messages, right? You do not get an AI message, but you also get a tool message, right? At the end of the day, you get a different matches. Like I'm not able to look up real-time weather data, so I can't tell you the current condition in Tokyo. And also it gives you the result of the multiplication that you asked about, right? 2 multiplies by 3 equal to 6, right? Let's see the ML flow tracing for it. If you scroll down, so I do the debug like this. So I go at the last of this chat Databricks 2, right? You will see that it knows the tools, right? First it is say that what is the weather in Tokyo and what is 2 multiplied by 3. First it will call the multiply function, right? Then it says that two laws call and the output is 6. Then at the end it will give you the output for it. Currently we do not have any tool to have the weather in Tokyo, right? Because this chat model does not know like how to get the weather. So if you want to enhance it further, you can add one more tool which will go to Google, which will fetch the Tokyo weather information, and it can give you that information, right? So this is how you'll integrate the tools. Now let's see some real-time examples of LangChain inmate tools. So if you click this particular link, you will see that there are from the community of LangChain, you do have a lot of inbuilt tools that you can use, right? Something like if you want to do Bing search, it is so you'll see if it is either free or paid. Free or paid means you really need a token to use all those, or like some type of authentication to use it, right? So if you see that you also have some DuckDuckGo search tools which is free. For this example we are using Wikipedia. So if you search for Wikipedia, you'll get the Wikipedia tool and you'll see the installation for. So we have already installed this Wikipedia package. So this is how we'll be using the Wikipedia tool. So let me get back. So you see that I have defined the tools like this, whatever is defined in the Wikipedia documentation. So I have used that as a tool. So this is a tool right now. Okay, now the integration of tools with the chat model remains the same. You define the bind tools and you define what tools you want to bind. Currently I am binding the Wikipedia tools, and at the end you define the node, you define the edges, and you then invoke it, right? So I'm just asking like, tell me about data breaks. But right now this agent is integrated with Wikipedia. Right now the agent is intelligent enough that it knows that I can also search Wikipedia to search like what is data breaks. So if you see the traces for this, you will see that whenever I'm asking tell me about database, it called the Wikipedia tool, right? And the tool has given me some information about it. Once this information we got, then this chat model can identify like what to print, and it can format this whatever the content that you get from the tool, right? It will format that accordingly, right? So if you scroll down, this is how the assistant has given you the output. So the overview of database, core concepts and products, historical highlights, foundation team, and why database matters. So you see that tool has only given me all the required information. So you can think about like these are the source of truth, and then our chat model is intelligent enough that it can understand this information, and this can also format it accordingly, right? So you see the like how easy it is to bind any tools. There are different tools that exist, so use different tools, and maybe start with all the free tools that we have so that you understand like how different tools behave. And also I'll say like use multiple tools, and use a different question, and you go to this ML flow and see like how can you debug this, right? So you'll see that currently I'm using one tool. You'll see that when you integrate multiple tools can be triggered, and ML flow tracing is very helpful to understand like what's happening inside the agent, right? So this is how you debug your agents also. I think this was a really long session, but I just wanted to explain these tools in detail because this is very important for you to understand. I think this is all I wanted to share. And before I stop this video, I'd really appreciate if you could just like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Yeah, it takes a lot of effort, but your support will mean a lot. Thank you so much.